With U.S. home foreclosures soaring to record highs and reports now suggesting the foreclosure pipeline slowing down big time, we're asking whether the foreclosure mess could create a downward spiral for housing. It's a tough question. Somebody's got to ask it. Here now to answer it, Matt Englett, managing partner of KEL Attorneys, and Mark Calabria with the Cato Institute. Look at Matt. This Bank of America story is apocryphal, okay? Between the judicial review in, I guess, 23 states, according to Diana Olick, as well as their own internal processes, nobody can figure out, is the foreclosure stoppage going to last 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years? The fate of the housing market could depend on it, Matt. What are you thinking?
Absolutely. You know, if they have to go, and it looks like from a legal perspective, they're going to have to go back and refile all these foreclosure actions. And that is going to take months and obviously have a very negative impact on the real estate market. But, you know, they don't have to take that option. There is another option. You know, they could come out and reach out to their borrowers and come up with some foreclosure alternatives to resolve these cases. You know, we represent a lot of people on the homeowners side, and almost all of our clients want their case to be over with. They want to resolve it. And these banks still have not come out in full force and said, you know what, instead of going back and refiling all these foreclosures, why don't we resolve the case with you? They still haven't done that, and they have the opportunity to do that. If they were to do that and take that approach, the real estate market would be much better off for it.
All right, before we get to the refiling, Mark Calabria, let you weigh in on whether this is a doom and gloom scenario and a crash in housing sales and prices because of the portfolio, the foreclosure stoppage. And Mark, the question du jour, de nuit, this evening, if I got my French right, heaven forbid, is the Bank of America. You know, I'm trying to figure out, is their foreclosure moratorium going to be 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, Mark? That's the $64,000 question.
Larry, when this was initially announced, it sounded more like it was going to be a 6-month issue to me, but I'm actually revising that down to more like a 3-month issue. I do think you need to go through a lot of this, but I do think that as you start to look at it, a very large number of these are vacant, like 30-40%. A large number of these are not going to be able to come to any sort of conclusion otherwise. So I think they're going to adopt a little bit of what Matt is suggesting. I think at some point they're basically going to do a cash for keys with some people. I think for some people they're going to do a modification, but the overwhelming number of these, probably about 80-90%, are either vacant or it's somebody who hasn't paid in years, and those are going to move forward. Now, I think even a 3 or 4 month delay, the impact on prices is going to be small, less than 10%. So I think we'll see another 5 or 10% decline in house prices. I don't consider that a downward spiral, but I do consider it a weakening. I think we'll see sales off a little bit, but I still think we'll be considerably above 4 million on an annual basis. So you'll see a slowing down in the housing market, but I wouldn't say the bottom's falling out, because the bottom's already fallen out, and we're essentially just around the bottom.
All right, so Matt, you know, from the Bank of America release this afternoon, it says that their foreclosure sales completed in the third quarter. Borrowers were on average 18 months delinquent, so there's no flaw in that, and 1 in 3 properties were vacant. So when I read that, I acknowledge, look, there are private property rights and contract law rights in all this. I've said that from the get-go. But I'm kind of leaning towards what Mark is saying, that this is doable and solvable, and I don't think the courts are going to stand in the way, and therefore the Calamity Jane scenario is not going to happen, Matt.
Well, you know, I would agree with that, but being on the other side of this, what we're seeing is that people who otherwise were not fighting the foreclosure action, now that this has all come to light, they are coming forward and saying, you know what, I think I need to hire a lawyer to help me resolve this situation.
And you're just the guy. You're ready to step in, right? You're just the guy.
Well,
I mean, God bless you, but I'm just saying, this is good. Unemployment is high, but you're going to be gainfully employed. Is that right?
Well, no, but if you think about it, Larry, is it right that these banks can trample all over people? Is it right that they can have people sign affidavits on information they have not reviewed and they don't know that's accurate? Because keep in mind, judges rely on this information to grant judgments against people, and these judgments, at least here in the state of Florida, follow people around for 20 years. So we want to make sure this information is accurate, and it's up to the banks to make sure that they do that. They're the ones who are responsible for this mess. It's not necessarily the people who are defaulting.
All right, so Mark, these are important points. Matt is raising. I was just kidding you, Matt, about being employed. I want you to be employed.
Oh, I know.
I want you to bring home the bacon. But Mark, I want to ask you about trampling of rights. This is a point that analyst Barry Ritholtz has made time and time again. There are key rule of law, private property, contract issues here. How do you read that, and how long does it take to get those resolved?
And I think that is an important part of it. And I want to say, I think Matt's going to see, by definition, somebody that comes to Matt wants to keep their home and they want to try through the process. So, he's not going to be seeing the people who've already left their house, have no intention of coming back, or people who are so far behind that they're not going to get there. So, the sample he is seeing, I don't know if I think that's representative overall. But I think at the same time, these are mostly in judicial states. It's a very easy thing for the judge to simply ask the borrower, when was the last time you paid your mortgage? It's not simply a matter of does the bank have a right to foreclose, but does that person have a right to be there? At what point do you no longer become a homeowner and you simply become a squatter? I think after about 2 years, you really kind of lose your right to actually be there. And if you have some question about the right, the easy thing to do is assign the mortgage to a trust that the court itself sets up and let that person pay that mortgage into that trust. And if they don't pay into that trust, have the trust foreclosed.
And Matt, last 15 seconds, that's all I got. Will the process Mark Calabria laid out, will that truncate the overall foreclosure moratorium problem?
Well, look, I think his numbers are off. He's saying that 80 to 90% of them, people aren't going to contest them. I don't think those numbers are accurate. They're certainly not accurate here in the state of Florida. I think the banks have created a big mess, and they can go back and fix it, but it is going to take some time, much longer than 3 months. Right now in the state of Florida, the average foreclosure takes 6 to 9 months. That's even if you don't contest it.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Matt Englett, thank you very much. Mark Calabria, thank you very much.